Hey again, in this section we will implement complete tic-tac-toe game. You will play tic-tac-toe with a device. So, for example, I select a cell, device select randomly another cell. I select this cell, the device select that cell. I select this cell, then I win the game. So yes, this is what we will implement in this section. We will learn a lot about design layout with table view, then how to call different events from same how to call same event from different UI, then how to design a layout with good user experience. So let's get started step by step. Hey again, let me start build our tic-tac-toe game step by step. So to get started, I will create simple Android application and make sure it is an empty application. You click next and I will name it tic-tac-toe app. Okay. Save it whenever you want to save it. I just click finish. It would take some time to build the complete application for me. I don't think it will take a lot, so it's almost finished. So let me wait for it until everything get ready. So here we go. So everything now is ready for our application to get started with. So this is the project, this is the settings, this is everything for our project. But before we go deep and start design our layout, let me think about how the layout for this game should look like. So if you are not familiar with tic-tac-toe, tic-tac-toe should look like a board this way, and this board has three buttons in every row. I mean 3 options people could click on it. So table has a 3 button in every row, or board has a 3 button in every row, so 2 players could play. There's multiple ways to design this layout. You could use a simple way that you learned previously, how to use put button, put constraint here, put another button, constraint here, and continue this. You could do that, but for me, I will not use a constraint layout because I want to teach you how to use different layouts. So what I will use a table layout. So the table layout look like this one, for example, and I will add 3 rows in that table. And in every row, I put 3 buttons, and that is, so 3 button here, for example, 3 button here, and 3 button here, and that is, this is how my layout for the game will look like. So to get started, I will just go to the resource, and this is how my layout look like. If you see, let me hide this part. I don't need this, I just remove it, no need anymore. This one, well, let me just increase the design so it could be easy for you to see, like, see the form in the big size, so you could easily follow. I would just increase the form, some of you are good. So now I have constraint layout. If you see here, this is my constraint layout. I don't want constraint layout, as I told you, I want table layout. If you see here in layout, I have something named table layout. So it's better for me to go here and change this constraint, just the name. I will name it table layout. Okay, so now if I go back, I will see the name changed. Instead constraint, now I have table layout. As I said, the table have 3 rows. Make sure pick this one and add it on the top of the table, so it be child for it. This one also on the top of the table to be child for the table. Never put it on the top of other child, because it will be child for the second row. So if you put it here, it will be child for this row, which is wrong. Make sure move it, put it on the child for the table. So now table has 3 rows. We good? If I go to the code or XML, yeah, this is table layout. It have 3 rows. This is first row, this is second row, this is the third rows. But as I told you, we have a table layout, and the table layout have 3 rows, and every row has 3 buttons. So I would assume I should go to this row and I should add 3 buttons. So I will go to the buttons, I will add it inside this row. But do you see the design should repeat it over and over? So for example, I could take 3 buttons just for you, just for learning part for you. So I could add 3 buttons inside this layout, 1, 2, 3, and let me design this one in the nice way, so it will look like a nice. So the button, the first button, for example, this one, the first one. So if you pick it, I will just increase the size for it. Here we go. So now I have table layout have 3 buttons. Every button should be designed as an option button. So I would go to the width. I have something named wrap content and match parent. Wrap content means the width of the object equal the content of it. So if you have a 1 character, it will be equal to the 1 character. If you have like this size of character inside it, it will increase it. So it will be the size of the characters that you have inside that one. Match parent, let it be the size of the parent. Like this one is the child of this one. So whatever, if you say match parent, it will be the size of this button equal the size of the parent. But now I have 3 buttons, I cannot use match parent. So now this one I remove the text because I don't need the text in it. This one I remove the text, and this one I remove the text. Okay, good. So now what I do, I don't want to use wrap content, and I don't want to use a match parent. I want to use a fixed size. I would use 40 pt. Pt is the sizing measurement. I could use in Android, see, and I say 40 pt as a width, 40 pt as a height, so it will be nice button, 40 width, 40 height. Same thing I will do it for the second one. I say okay, I want to 40 width, 40 height, and the same thing for the third one, 40 width, 40 height. So 3 buttons per row. Until now everything sounds nice, but you see they are very near each other, so it's better to add margin. Margin mean, when you talk about margin, you mean how, if you are familiar with the HTML, when you say margin mean, if you have 2 objects, this object and this object, you say I want this object to margin 3, that means this one will be far from this one 3. So since I have multiple objects, this one and this one and this one and this one, and the first one is the child of this one, so when I say margin, it will be far away from how far I wanted it from that object. So I will tell you, if I just go to this one, or this second button, I say I look for margins. Okay, so you have multiple margins option. If I say margin from the left side, I will give it, for example, 3 pt. Look to it. See, it gives you space between that button and that button. Same thing, if this one I say I want margin from the left side, 3 pt. Look to it. It gives you space. If you see here, it gives you space between this one and this one. Space between this one and this one. For same thing, this one as a row, as a complete row for 3 objects, I want to have a margin between it and between the table. Otherwise margin works. So if I say, okay, this one I also want, for example, want margin from the right side, maybe left side. Let me say I want margin from, for now, let me just say this button. I didn't add margin for it. I added only for this one and this one. Let me add for this one also before I go next. Sorry. I say this one also 3 pt. So this one have a 3 pt from margin left. This one is 3. This one is 3. So that's good. Now I have 3 of them. They have a margin. They from each others. I also want the row, for example, the table is falling everywhere. I want to give it a color to make it clear for you. So this as a table, let me just start with background color for the table to show you what I want to do. So if I go to the background color, background, in this way, background, wait a minute, color. Okay, so and I have a table, maybe I didn't select it correctly. So it should be just background. So I say background. So I was correct here. So if I pick, you see, you could pick different colors. Any color you want to see. This is, let me just use a red for now to just make you familiar, or any other color like clean color. Then I will pick the colors that I want. So you could pick the colors in this way, or you could give them numbers directly from here. For example, if I have a specific color, I want to give it for, let me assume my favorite color, which is F9. This is a nice color. I would use that as a background, or whatever. Maybe some people are interested with other color, which is D3. This is another background color. That nice background color, you could use it. Use whatever you think is like it's good color. So I would use this one. I would use like D3 as a background for everything. And my buttons, sure, definitely I need to give the button also a color, but if I say here on the button background as a button, I give the complete background color. The button I also give it the background. I could select here and this way. I say, okay, this is my button. I want to give it a background, so I would click here. I give it the white color, so I would assume F9, F9, F9. This is the white color. I know what the white color is, the three F9s. You tell me why how I do that is very simple. I'm not that genius guy. I just go to the Google and learn these colors, or you could use them from here. So I just already know these numbers. For example, I know this is F9, F9. I just get the number, so I just won't save my time. You could get this, for example, you want to know what's the color, what's the number for this color. You just click here, you see, this is the number. I already know the white color is F9, F9, F9. So see, I have now three nice buttons in one row. 1, 2, 3 button, but I want them to be in the center. So I would assume as a row inside table, the content should be in the center. So what I would say gravity. You select how your object will be. I would select this one. Maybe layout gravity. Okay. This one. I don't know why I'm not able to get it as a row, but I could go to the text and say, okay, this is my table. I say Android, gravity, and I say center. Okay? Sometimes you don't get it from the layout correctly. See, the three button now went to the center. Without this line, the three button was not in the center. If you look back, the three button was in the left side. So I say, okay, I want them to be in the center to make sure I want them in the center, and that is. What else? You see, the button is like very, very touchy in the end, in the top of the end. So you know what I use? I use margin, but margin now is not left. I would assume you know margin maybe from the top, maybe. Let me say 3 pt. See, I just put some space from the top side. So from here on this one. Just make sure I want to space. So 3 button, that's nice buttons. You could, I could just go to the code. I have these 2 rows. I no longer need them as a rows. You see this one and this one. I just remove them. You go back, I have only 1 row, and I just copy that row. I have this row as a row, table row. I just copy 1, second row, third row. So if I go back, nicely 6 button inside this one. And all of them center, so I make sure. One more thing, I need all these, I mean all the layout to appear not in the top of the form. I want to appear in the center here. So you know I give gravity for the row in the center to make the row content to appear in the center. I do same thing for the table layout. I say Android. Okay, not that way. I should in here I write it. Make sure in the end after they define the word Android. Gravity, and I give it the word center. Now if I just go back, wow, everything as expected. So everything went to the center. So you see now I have all of them have different names, so I make sure I give them correct names so I don't have this issue, or correct IDs. So I remove this part. So what's the ID for this one? Should be, I would assume you give it BU1, and this one BU2. Sorry, let me just go back. This one is BU1, this one is BU2. Make sure click escape, then go back. BU3. Make sure, okay, again, BU1, BU2, and BU3. And you could give them ID in different ways. This is how we give it through using the layout. You could use the direct code to add IDs for the button. For example, this row, you could say, okay, this row will be, the second row will be B3, B4, B5, and the third row B6, 7, 8. Why 7, 8? Let's make sure what I did. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one should be 4, 5, 6. This one should be 7, 8, 9. Okay. Okay, now I have no error issues. So sound everything went, everything fix it. Now I have 9 object measure from ID. This is 1. This is 2. The IDs. This is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 IDs. You see how I did the color for them using just direct color. Just say it from here and I access the color. There's another way to do a color for them by go to resource values. Here in the color you define your colors. Let me assume I have a color. That's what I prefer. You define a color and you name it, for example, white background. This way. Not that, maybe I just wrote some word is not correctly. White background, you give it a name and you give it a value. You remember what I did the value for the white background as a layout? That was my white background, D3, D3. So just copy this one and use it, D3, D3. So I have white background. Now, instead I go in the code and directory, give the name of it. I should say at strings, or sorry, you say at color, and you call that color. It's nicer because you don't need hard code the numbers. Still you have same thing, you have same background color, because when I say add color, white background will go here and pick that color. Okay, same thing for the another color I could add it, which is white. So I say color, name is white, and I give it what you now, I think F9, and it's for some reason it's telling me there is an issue. Hey, you tell me, hey, there's an issue, you cannot use that color, maybe because this name is reserved for some reason. White BU, let me give it this name, because that's color reserved word, you cannot use it. So you still name it white BU. So now if you go to the buttons, if you see now in the button, now instead I hard code F9, I just say okay, at color / white BU. And I would prefer to use this one for all the button, because I will tell you why in seconds. Why it is very important for you to use colors instead hard coding these numbers in your layout. Now, do you see how many of buttons using the white color? What if you want to change to green? What you need to do? You need to go one by one button to fix this problem. But with layout, it's just very easy to change all of them. Just go ahead and say, okay, this one I want to change it. Let's say, for example, you say, I don't know how green color will look like. Maybe I use time color pick. Let me, I could do it online, color pick. Or I could use the color pick RGB maybe. There's many tools you could use it to pick a color. Let me pick this. I need to pick this color. Okay. So if you see this is the FFF whatever. So now I go here. I say okay, I want to replace it with that color. Now if you just go to the all the button colors get changed. Same thing for the background. You say no, I want to change all the background color to something like this color. Maybe this color. You say, okay, let me just copy this color. I go back and I just go to the color file and change it, and it will affect all the UI. So think about, you have a Facebook, you want to change the color. They don't go for every single page and change it. They just go to the resource file and change down to affect other single pages. But for me, I'm good with that nice 2 colors for my game. I want them to look like this way. So now here we're done. Thank you for watching and see you next. Hey again. Now we have nicely designed UI, have 9 buttons like you see it in the previously. Now I want whenever a user click on any button I get event. You know there is multiple way to solve this issue. First solve to the problem, you add listener. For every button have a listener in the code, which I don't prefer. Or you do one single method and all these 9 buttons could call that method, and that's what I will do. How I do that, that's mean this one, it have an event, name it on a click, okay? So when someone click on it, I say when someone click on this button, I call event name it bu a click. You know, if I just go to the code, it will tell me, hey, you're saying bu click, but where's that button? There is no event. There is no event for that. If I click here, it maybe allow me to, they create it for you by single click, or the IDE failed to create it. If the IDE failed, like what you see, it failed to create the event for you, you know how you do that. You just go ahead and say, okay, it's fine. I say function, name it bu click, and this function have a input view, which is instance of the view class. You should wait until you see this and click enter, so make sure they import that line for you. Let's say wait a second. So you need to wait until you get that line imported. Now if you see this button, if I go to the layout bag, this button is good, it's calling bu click. I would do same thing for all the buttons. All the buttons now they call same event. Wow, this is now some issue will have, because all of them they call same event. How I recognize this click, how I recognize this request is coming from that button or that button? It won't be easy, but we will see. Now, okay, I have 9 button. If you see 9 button, 1, 2, all of them they call same event. So how that code, which is this code, will now the request is coming from button number 1 or button number 2 or button number 3. It won't be hard, because every button, if you see, have an ID. This one have BUID1, BUID2, BU3, B4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you just, an easiest way, you say, it's not be hard, I will define val, name it BU selected, it be whatever the view input, view as a button, okay? You now, not bundle, button, okay? Because you need to get the button. So you know this view will represent the button that the user click on. So if user click on this button, the view will be BU1. So this view will be BU1. So I take that view and I convert it to a button. So I know which button the user did a click on. So to do that, I say, okay, how I would know which button? I will tell you. Let me say 2as. Just 2as is a way to display message, or you could do logging. It's up to you. It's just say log dot d. Log you display logging is a good way. So you say log to d. I name it bu select. Then I want to display this one. This button. Dot. I need to get dot id, because not dot d, not do debug. It tell me there is some reason you need to do string, convert it to string to get rid from this issue. So it will print it for you correctly. Because if view now it's button, and button is bu select, it considered as a complete button object, and as a button object you would have multiple properties. One of the properties is id. So one of the properties is ID. Now I just run it to see what will happen when I click on different buttons, and I just say view select and try to filter the logout. So because logout will show me a lot of things, I don't want to see everything. I want to see only the logs have this word in it. This is a way for you to learn how to debug things. As I told you, there's multiple ways to debug. I prefer this way. So let me just search for this one in the here, the verbs. I say, hey, I need only the logs have this word. So now we should be good. The button is, the applications get loaded. So when the application complete loaded, now if I click on any button, see, say button ID, click this ID, 218, 219, whatever, 220, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? I don't want to use these IDs to the options for me to access to the every button. It's better to access to them using their object name. So I say, okay, let me here go down and define variable, name it cell ID, or the cell that user click on. You could name it cell ID. By default, the cell ID will be 0. It's the integer number. So I say when the button selected dot id. I depend on whatever user select dot id. I just do this is when time. So if he select r dot id dot button 1, I would give that variable value is 1. Okay, which is cell id will give it 1. That is mean if the user click on the button have a id bu1, I will give value for that variable 1. Okay, and same thing for the rest. They are 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if the user click on 2, I will give that variable value 2. If the user click on 3, I will give that variable value 3. Click 4, I'll give it 4. 5, I give it 5. If you click on 6, I give it 6. Click on 7, I give it 7. Click on 8, I give it 8. Click on 9, I give it 9. Now let me add another log for bu select, but this time for the cell ID. So you would notice how the cell ID will look like. Bu select cell ID. So that one bu select, this one bu select the cell ID. Make sure always to string, because this function is taking only string. So now if I just rerun again, did you see how nice my logs? Now I only say the logs that related to it has a bu click. So I make sure add the tag has whatever I'm searching for, so it will show me only what I am interested in. So now you see it will interpret any ID or any button to specific the ID. So on the code now, I could know that if you click cell number 1 or cell number 2, cell number 3, or whatever. So waiting for sometimes I say go to thank you. I don't know who's that dog for, so just bother my my recording. So here we go. Now I think everything should fine to be. So I click. If I click one button, if you see he say click cell ID equal 1, and this is 18, 19, 2, 20, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 7. No. See, this is what the benefit of the debugging. This should be 6. This one is 7, 8, 9. So that means just this one fix this one, make it 6. So this is the main idea of debugging. So it helps you to detect the bug very, very early. So now I think we are good to go. So to start the next video to implement the code for playing the game. Thanks for watching and see you next. Hey again, we finished designing our application UI, and now whenever you click any button, you are able to know which button being clicked. Now let's design the simple application for Tic Tac Toy. 2 people play the game before we go to the next and we make it the game you play with the device, because as a just run app, we need to make sure the application is running. Then we move to the next step to make you play with the device. So how we do that? I just go here and I define a new method. I name this method play game. So method name it play game. So this method play game, I expect take 2 things. First thing, it will take the cell ID, will be integer, which is you know what, and the second one will be bu select, whatever select. Well, I just name it this way, and should be a button, because I need to know what button he click, so I change the color for the button and who is the active player or something like that. So here, all what I need to see is send. I say play game. I send 2 things, cell ID, and I would send also the bu select. Okay, because I need to send these 2 things. So bu select, I need to send it. No longer need these logs because they are good and they show me a correct result, so I don't need them. So now I'm sending bu select cell ID here, and this one should take off. So first thing, to design this game, what you need? We need multiple things. First thing we need to make sure there is who is the active player. So we need to define a variable and name it active player. And this active player, we could know who is the active player now. Is it 1 or 2? by default, player 1 will be a active player. We need also keep track what the player 1 selected, or which cells player 1 have been selected, and which cells the player 2 have been selected. So I say var player 1 equal, it should be array list. You could define list of, array list. I like to define the array list of integer. That's my way. You could use the Kotlin way. It depends. So this is for the player 1. It will have all the points or all the cells that player 1 selected, and this one will have all the cells that the player 2 have been selected. So what I would do here, I say, hey, if the active player is player 1, so I could do something. Else, I could do another thing. Okay? So if the active player is a player 1, what do you expect? The button, I will give it .text as a text inside that button. I will give it value equal x. Okay? Because I would assume player 1 have x. If the player 2 is the active, I would give for that cell value O. Okay? So if the player 1 is active, I would set the background color for that player. So I say set background color. Here I would say r.color, which color? So I don't have colors added. I need to add color for blue just to make it nice, and for the other player I need to give it color as a dark green. Okay, I just want to add 2 colors. So in this case I need to go to layout and add these 2 colors where in the strings. I say okay, I know there's a people looking for color, name it blue, and this blue color, you should go online and search for how blue color look like, or what the ID, but if you want to use mine ID, you should use this number. And the other color that you see we added here, which is dark green, you could go here and say okay, there is another color, name it dark green, and the dark green would be this ID. Again, I already have it prepared. You could do the way that I did it. So you see, this is dark green, this is a blue color. That's good. So now I think we are good for both of these colors. So both of them, they have, I would assume they have a correct color, but for some reason he told me set background resource. Oh, I say set background color. Should say set background. I should say set background resource, not set background color. So I will not have this issue. Okay, so set background resource. Now it's good. So okay, if the active player is a player 1, I should put it X and he will be active. And give it blue. If the O, I give it O and active, and make sure whatever player 1 selected, I will add it to his list. So whatever the cell ID that player select, I will add it to his list. And same thing, if it's player 2, whatever player 2 select, add it to his list. So I keep track whatever player 1 did pick and whatever player 2 pick. And always, this active player, if I am the active player, I will do the active player 2. If the 2 is the active player, what the 2 will do? It will change a turn. It will make the 1 as the active player, and they just play. And same times, I make sure for both players, I would say, okay, both of them, this button, I don't need anyone to click on it again. So I make sure make it is enable is equal false. That means this button is false, so it's not enabled, and no one could click on this button again. So very simple, nice way. Very simple, nice way. You track whatever player 1 pick, you track whatever player 2 pick, you know who's the active player. So if the active player is player 1, you set it to X, you change the background to blue, you add that to the player 1 list. Same thing if the active player 2 is 2, you change it O, you set dark green, you change it to player 2, you add it to the list, you change the active player to 1, and they could play at same time. I'll be waiting for some time to see or to have the application ready. But now it will not tell me who win what, because it's just very simple, just turning, but it will change the color based on the player. If player 1 pick 1, it will change it, player 2 it will change it, and will continue. See, this is for player 1, because by default the player 1 is active, X. Next one will be O, X, O. See? I'm playing by 2 players, not by 1. So, but now I need someone to check the rules. I need if the 3 of them check it for the player O, I should say, hey, game ended. Player 1 win the game. Now how I do that? I should do this check every time when the games get played. Every time I should say, hey, check the winner. Okay, check who is the winner. So that's mean I need to have a method, defined method named check winner. So I need to define a method named check winner. The goal of this method is just checking who is the winner. So by default, this method, the winner, is -1. I don't know who is the winner. So based on the rule, so you know player 1 will have a list of the cells that he selected, player 2 have a list of the cell he selected. We have, when we play this game, we have multiple rules. If someone pick all this row, or all this row, or all this row, he will be the winner. Same thing, if the player pick this column, or this column, or this column, he will be the winner. I will add only these 9 rules. So I will say, okay. So I will say, okay, if let me check for first row number 1. So the first row number 1, I say if player 1 dot contains the list of the player 1 contain 1, and player 1, I just added 3 rows, contain 2, and player 1 contain 3. That means the player 1 he's the winner. I'm definitely say the winner. This one equal player 1. Okay, and you have same rule. You could say else, because there is no way both of them would be. They have this, but you could just don't use else if, or you could say player 2 and 2 and 2. It will be the 2 is the winner. So this is only row for the first row. If the player 1 pick the 3 cells, he will be the winner. If the player 2 pick the 3 cells, he will be the winner. Same thing I will do it for row number 2 or row number 3. So row number 2. Row number 2, the player should pick 3, 4, 5. He will be the winner. Is that right? No, not 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 6. He will be the winner. And also if this one pick 4, 5, 6, he'll be the winner. Same thing for the row number 3. If the player pick 7, 8, 9, and 7, 8, 9. So this is not 3 rules for the rows. You could add 3 rows for columns. You could say column number 1. So you know that for the column number 1, they should pick 1 and 4 and 7. Do you know where this number come from? This is 1, this is 4, this is 7. Okay? Same thing. 1, 4, 7. So this is for the first column. This is column number 2. If the player pick for definitely 2, 5, 8. Just increase the number by 1. 2, 5, 8. And column number 3. Say column number 3, if the player pick 3, 6, 9. Okay, so this should be 3, this is 6, this is 9. So now by this point I know who is the winner, if it's the player 1 or if it's player 2. So I will check. I say, hey, if the winner equal when I want you to do something. I say else if the winner equal to, I want you to do something. Okay? Say else if. In this way. So if the winner, you could do whatever you want. I could display a message. I say to ask dot. To ask is a way to display a message for user. I say to make text. I pass a 3 parameter. This dot message. I say, for example, player 1 is the win the game. For example, win the game. And you need to pass the other parameter, which is for how long you want to ask to show us. I say I want to show for long. For long or short time, I say long. And I show wait to ask dot length long. And I say dot show. Okay, very simple. So this is a way to display a message for user. This is player 2 win the game, player 1 win the game. It's just to say to ask make text, you pass 3 parameters. This, that means current activity, the message that you want to display it. The to ask for how long you want to show the message, and you say show. I think for now the game should be all set for 2 players. They playing at the same time, so there is no way you get your phone, give it to your friend, he play, then he'll give you back, you play. Well, this is, as I told, this is just to make sure the game is working, because next video we will make you play with the device. But just for now, we make sure the rule is working. All what we change is a single line for the next video to make you play with the device after we implement the playing with the device. So yep, waiting for it. So to make sure this is, so I'm playing, I pick this one. For first player pick this one, second player pick this one, first player pick this one, second player pick this one. So if I pick this one, it should tell me, come on. See, say player 1 win the game. Yes. So now we all set for the rules of the game and who did win the game, if it's player 1 or player 2. So, and yeah, all what we need to do is just, instead 2 players playing the game, we make 1 player play with the device. So let's go to the next video and see how we could make you play with the device. Again, in the first video, we learned how we implement the game for 2 players to play at the same time on the same phone. What you want in this video, you want 1 player play with the device. And this time, or in this way, the device needs to decide which empty cell he should pick. So if you have all these empty cells, the device should say, okay, I would able to pick only from these cells. For now, we don't do really AI device to be able to be really genius to know how to play with you, because that need a lot of code. What we want to do for now, we say okay, the device will pick random cell from these cells. So it will pick it randomly. Okay, if you want to add AI on it, feel free. So make the device really genius to play with you the game. But for me, I just want the device to play randomly with me. For example, that means like if the device see these 4 cells, not necessarily the device will pick this one. It will pick any one of these 4s. Okay, so in this case, when I play, now the second player will be autoplay. So all what I need to do is very simple, very simple. I say okay, when the first player is me played, the second player will be the autoplay. So I would say auto play. Okay, autoplay should be a method I haven't implemented yet, so I will go ahead and implement this autoplay method. So going down, so this one play with device, or say function autoplay. This is a play with device method. So the device to play with me, first of all, the device need to identify which cells is empty, none being used by player 1 or player 2. So in this case, the device will say, okay, I need to find what's the empty cells. I say variable empty cells list, or you can say empty cells, because whatever you name them. I define array list, an array list of integer, and it is empty. So what he will do here, the device will look from 1 to 9, searching for any empty cell. I say cell ID in 1 to 9. It will look for any one of these. If it find any cell empty from 1 to 9, that means if the nodes player 1 have select, that means contain cell ID, or player 2 dot contain the cell ID. So just making sure, hey, I want to make sure no player 1 and no player 2 pick that ID. I just add it to the empty cell list. I say empty cell dot add tool added cell ID. And that is very simple. So now by the end of this loop, I will have all the cells, all the empty cells, no one pick them, in this case these 4s, will be added in this list. What I want to do, I want to pick randomly from these cells. So how I do that, I say I define val, say okay, I have variable r, I will use random method from Java, make random, remember that, random, it is part from Java util. I just pick this one. Now I want to pick random cell between all these cells, so I say okay, I say var random index from r dot next. I need to just pick next integer. From what? From the empty cell size. So here using this line, it will pick random value from the cell. You could say plus 0, here say minus 0 plus 0, because this is how the fundamental work for this random method, because you define the minimum value as 0 and the maximum value, but 0 for or case 0, and sometimes people want to search between 100 to 200, so the minimum value here will be 100. For us, we want to search what? We want to search from 0 to minimum size to max size, so will be this will be our thing, only random. Now I have the random, so I should be also just I say okay, what the cell that randomly selected, I say cell ID will be equal to empty cell, and this empty cell will be random index. Okay, this way random index. So now in this one, hey, I know what the cell being selected. Now I want to set that button for that cell, so I would say okay, variable bu selected, it is part from button class, and bu selected should be equal to when whatever cell ID is. So play this game for me. If the person pick a 1, that means you mean B1. Okay, if the person pick 2, you mean B2, and so on and so forth. If 2, if 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and else. So this one, if the player pick 2, okay, pick 2. If the player pick 3, pick 3. If player pick 4, pick 4. If it pick 5, pick 5. If 6, 6, 7, pick 7, 8, pick 8, 9, pick 9. And else, you notice something we learned new in this video, give it B1. You see, like, for some reason I just added what I did. I said, for some reason I said I need just to use this one direct, so else will be something like this. Okay, for me here I just using the object direct in Kotlin. You could use it directly, you don't need to use that thing r.id something like that. I think even here you don't need to use the r.id, only the object name enough will be. This is some new extension in Kotlin they added, so you could use it. Could say, so here you need to add extension, I think, maybe. Oh no, it won't work here, so just here keep it as it is. I don't want to investigate why in this video, so that's why your point, you need to investigate why, but here I just be able, you could do it r.id.object name, or you could just here write it just object name without anything. That'll be fine. So now I have it selected, the button, just I say play the game. I have the random value selected for that button. I say play game, and play game I send this cell ID and bu select. Because to play the game, you need to have two things, if you remember. to play the game even for the previous one. When he pick the button, when he select button, the player, he need to send us which cell he select, one was the button. And same thing for the machine. When the machine pick random cell from the cells, it should send us which cell pick was the machine, which cell the machine picked, and was that button, so we could highlight it. So now if hit enter, I would assume the code should work fine with no issue. Okay, now hopefully everything will work fine. If I play, see, the machine directly played. Play here, see the machine picked something. I pick here, the machine picked that one. I would able to win if I just pick this one. I say player win the game, okay? And then. Now you could add more for this game. For example, you don't want to make it only one game. You want to reset everything. To reset everything, when one player win the game, all what you need to do after the win, if it's 1 or 2, you need just to reset everything. Define a function named reset, and you reset these two, player list and player 1, and they play again. You play again with the machine and you put a counter. So your homework for this project would be this. You just define a label here to show how many times you win and how many times the device win. And every time one player win, this thing will go back to the receipt. It's very simple homework. You need to just add a method named clear. That method will clean all the resource here back to white and all the text back to the 0. And after that, after it do the cleaning, it will just restart the game by restarting player 1 and player 2. Have you done? Thank you for watching us. Hey again. Let me solve the homework now. So the homework was, whenever you win or the device win, you should be label up here how many times you win and how many times the device win, and all the time to restart the game for you to restart the game. So by default, by definition, you have a function named restart. So I would say function named restart game. Okay, this function will have to do multiple things. If you remember, by default, the game starts with multiple things. One of them is who's the active player? 1. So by default, you should set the active player back to 1 when you restart the game. What else you need to do? You need this player list and player 1 and 2. You need to be clean them. So you say okay, dot clear. So you don't want to have any previous information about player 1, whatever he select, and player 2, whatever player 2 have select. Okay, now you have these two. What else? You need to reset all these buttons back to the same color and remove all these X's. This will not be hard because you could do it multiple way. You could say for I from 1 to 9 and you reset all these buttons, or you could say you could define 9 of them and reset 9 of them. So I would do it in different way. Whatever you want to pick, I could say I could use this. It's this format, I like it. I say for I or index in 1 to 9. Okay, so I want to do this. So or index or cell index from 1 to 9. Get that cell index. Now I know the button after for everyone. So for every button, I would set everything back. First of all, I say text. The text of that button should be set back to empty because I don't need to have any text. And you remember the color, how we set it here? If you see, we set the color here using a resource blue and color white. So I do the same thing here. I say, okay, I want to set the color back. But now, if you go to the color, I want to use the white color or white. Okay, so I need to use the white. So whenever I want to restart the game, so I would change the active player back to 1. You could switch them, whatever. You want to clear player 1, player 2. You want to set all buttons back to be empty. He tell me I have some thing, make it nicer. Okay, you could make it nicer here, but here in this case you needed to do null safety, more syntactic sugarcoat. So now this one will restart the game. When I restart the game, whenever player 1 win or player 2 win. So I should send the winner. Okay, I would say I send 1 maybe here. The winner is 1 whenever the game restarted. Or here I say the winner is 2. Okay, and I make sure I know who is the winner here. Okay, I say the winner. Or you don't need to send it, you just add it to the list directory. Why you just define multiple method and multiple objects? You say, okay, you say here you define two lists. You said I have a variable player uh, player player 1 wins count. It will start with a 0, and same thing, player 2 wins count start with a 0, and every time 1 or 2 win you just increase it. So if 1 win, so I say okay, the player 1 equal player 1 plus 1, or you say plus 1. This is the more syntactic sugar thing. Okay, I would go with that one. And same thing, if player 2, you just say count for the player 2 win. So now you always know who is the winning and how many times that player win. You could just, for now, just do simple to ask. So say to ask dot make text. You say this, and you send it multiple thing. First say player 1 number of times win. So I would say you could, I think you could mention this way, player 1 counts. So you just want to show how many player 1 wins and how many times the player 2 wins. This is just very simple to ask. I will add a label in seconds. I say to ask dot long, always, I love long, then I say dot show. Okay, so very simple. I should work now. I would assume everything should be fine. If everything should be fine, every time who is the winner, it will restart the game back again. Okay, so everything now started. Now I play. Device played, I played. He say player 2 win the game. Okay, it should say player 1 have 0, player 2 have 1. Okay, and now if I play, oh, it does allow me because everything set back to enable. You see, set everything to disable. We need to make sure we're then and back to enable. If you see, we set here every button enabled to false. So I need to make sure here when I restart the game, besides returning the color back, returning these two things back, I need to return this one to true. Otherwise, it will not. I'm not able to click the button again. Okay, so I play. Device play. I win. Player 1 win the game. I should tell me how many points I have. Player 1 has 1. Player 2 0. That's good because I win. And start the game again. Here. And here. Oh, no one win the game now. If I pick, you will have a bag now. See? Now your goal to fix that bag. I know where's that bag located. Part from that bag will be here when you restart the game. When the device play, the device cannot play if there is no player. So make sure you say here if the size equal 0, you just restart the game. Okay? You need to restart the game. This will not solve the other bug. It will solve part from it. But your part is just investigate and see what's the problem. Because I solved the homework for you. Are we done? Thanks for watching.